Good afternoon. Welcome everyone to today's webinar event. My name is Joshua. I'm going to be your presenter today. It's promptly 1 p.m. Eastern time here. We're going to go ahead and get started. Before we get going on our topic here, a few things. Click the little orange arrow on the sidebar of your control panel to minimize the webinar control panel, or drag it off to your second desktop if you've got a dual monitor set up. You can get the better visual effect of the presentation. We are recording today's webinar event. The video of today's event will be released probably sometime between now and early next week. Our person who normally takes care of this is not here for the remainder of this week, so we'll get this out as early next week as we possibly can. If you have questions, please type those into the questions portion of the webinar control panel. I'll do my best to keep an eye on those. I repeat the question for everyone's benefit, and then I'll see what I can't do to get that answered. Please keep the questions on topic, meaning about our kind of split topic today of renumbering payroll checks and part 2 of reprinting check stubs in Church Windows Payroll. If you have other questions, please contact our support staff, or there may be another webinar event that's better suited for your questions that you have. We're going to be here together till 1:20 Eastern time at the very latest. It may not even go that long. These topics are not terribly difficult or complex, but they're important. Also, we do have 2 handouts attached to the webinar event today. They're the same 2 documents that I'm using as the printed portion of the webinar. If you click on the little arrow triangle to the right of the handouts, you'll see the renumber checks and the reprint check stubs PDF files. You can print them there, or you can find them on the Support Center page at our website by entering the keywords renumbering or reprint. They are there. So both of the topics are primarily involving payroll today. Hopefully everybody can hear me okay. Shows that my audio is coming through loud and clear. But yes, of course, when payroll checks are renumbered, we also need to ensure that those are transferred into our accounting module, so the books and accounting are correct as well. And you're going to see how that is dealt with and done systematically by payroll into accounting here. All right, so if typically this type of situation occurs is that when we've printed our payroll checks, we printed them, we transferred them, we didn't maybe look at the checks themselves and realized that the wrong check numbers were assigned to our checks in our payroll system. So if we go into our void individual pay right here under our main payroll screen, we click on void individual pay, we see our checks here for, say, February 28th here. If we isolate this pay date by choosing the pay date from the menu here, let's say one or all of these checks numbers that were assigned here were incorrect. They weren't, the checks themselves were considered presentable. The employees took them, they cashed them, the banks honored the checks. We just simply need to get the correct check numbers associated with the net check amounts in the employees in our payroll system and subsequently into accounting, okay? So how we do that is we now close out and we go to payroll, and we see near the bottom of our menu here the option called renumber checks, okay? So if we click on that, it opens up our renumber checks page or screen 1. It defaults to the very most recent pay date that we have in the menu. So if I wanted to go back to an earlier pay date, I would simply click the down arrow, and it shows all of my pay dates dating back to the first start of our payroll year. So let's say this was for February 28th. If I now choose that, it now changes all of the checks here to those that were for that pay date. Now, I do have some options here. If I only needed to renumber one, I could just highlight that. Or I can, because we are dealing with Microsoft-based applications, I could highlight one of those and highlight one and hold down my control key, and then I could randomly select some other paychecks, okay? That's what the screenshot on the first page of our Renumber Payroll Checks document shows us. Or if they're all out of sequence, I could do select all. And then I could still even hold down my control key and say deselect one. Or I could deselect several, okay? However I do it, I want to make sure I'm checking only the checks that I need to renumber, nothing more, okay? Just be aware you can randomly choose checks, okay? So we're going to assume here that, say, the last 4 of our checks were wrong, okay? So we're going to say that those were 1 digit off. So we're going to say that 12384 was skipped for some reason, and they picked up at 12385 and all the way up to 12387, okay? So we're going to highlight the checks we're wanting to renumber. And again, folks, they don't have to be in order. We could randomly choose them, but we're going to assume they were just 1 check number off. So once we've chosen those that we're changing, we're going to click Next. It then says, okay, what are the new check numbers for these folks? So we're going to render 12385 and 12386. So we do have to actually go in, and there's no automated or renumber. Oh, I could do starting check number. I'm so sorry, folks. Yes, I forget that. My fault. 12385. Now hit tab, and now notice it does renumber them automatically. Or you can do them independently, one at a time, just like I did. If they're out of sequence, you would need to do the new check number manually, but you can do the starting check number, and it will auto sequence those for us. So these now appear to be correct. We're going to click Next. It then prompts us now it defaults to no, do not renumber checks in the bottom right. Let me get out my highlighter and kind of steer some focus that. Right here, notice that the button is next to no, okay? We're going to now change that up to yes. So let me get back my regular drawing tool here. And we're going to change that up to yes, okay? So it does say, please confirm that you want to proceed by selecting the yes option and then click continue. Selecting no, the checks will end this renumbering session. It says here, note, renumbering checks is a slow process. It can take up to 10 seconds or more to renumber each check. Okay, so when we now have made that selection, we're going to click continue. It then says transferring payroll data to accounting. So it's now going through and it's reversing each one of those transactions in accounting and replacing them with a correct payroll transaction with the correct check number. Okay. Like it says takes several seconds or up to 10 seconds for each check for this to do this. So this might take a few seconds, okay? So we just need to be patient while this process completes. There it is. Renumbering process was successfully completed. So it's now corrected those check numbers both in payroll and in accounting. So now if I go into my void individual pay and I isolate February 28th now, we see our reversed entries, the original entries, and then 12384 is skipped over and it picks up with the 12385 to 88, okay? That's how easy it is to renumber the checks in payroll, okay? All right. I think pretty straightforward. Nothing too terribly complex about it, okay? I think, though, since we're kind of ending with the one topic and picking up with a new topic as it pertains to renumbering checks and reprinting check stubs, neither of these options allow us to reprint a check, okay? I think that's an important thing to kind of insert here, or statement to insert here is there is no option in Church Windows Payroll to reprint checks, okay? So renumbering checks does not allow me to put a check back into the print queue and reprint it. Also, the option here called reprint check stubs is also not an option that allows us to reprint payroll checks themselves to print a new check. If that is an option you need, then you would have to go back into Payroll and void individual pay, void the desired check on the respective pay date or checks, as the case may be, void them, transfer them into accounting, then go back into Payroll, recalculate the pay, and reprint new checks, okay? No option in Payroll to reprint checks themselves, okay? Other short of voiding and recalculating, okay? All right, so our second document here is I've got, an employee who comes to me and says, hey, Josh, I lost all of my pay stubs and I need them to present to my bank for a loan, or for whatever reason. If we need to reprint payroll check stubs, we can also do that by going to Reports in Payroll and right down here to Reprint Check Stubs. We can use this function to reprint check stubs for both those that received physical checks and our direct deposit employees, okay? So once we've chosen the reprint check stubs, it asks us, who do we want to reprint our check stubs for? So I can do everybody. I can choose a specific employee contractor. So let's say my pastor Larry wants me to reprint his check stubs, or I can choose more than one. Once I've made my selections, I click Next. Then it asks me to enter the pay dates from and to that I want those for. So I could choose just my March 15th pay date because that was my most recent pay date in the system that the software recognizes, okay? Or I could go ahead and backdate it to any starting pay date I wish, okay? So if Larry says, hey, I want all of my check stubs reprinted for the whole year, I would enter, January 1 through March 15th, or today's date. I only have dates through March 15th, folks. And then simply click Continue. It shows all of his in here, okay? So his were 4 of these were direct deposit stubs, and 1 of them was a check, okay? Why, I don't know. I don't have an answer for that. It's a different problem. But this then will allow me to print all of these check stubs for Larry. So I click Next. It then opens up a report preview with all 5 of those check stubs sitting here. All of them say non-negotiable copy. I can then send them to my printer using the print button in the upper left-hand corner. Okay? That would be just for one employee. I could also go back or cancel out of this and go back to reports and reprint check stubs again at the bottom. I could leave it for all employees, leave it for one specific pay date, and click Continue. And notice now it allows me to reprint a check stub for all of the employees on a specific day. Again, just pointing out with my highlighter, a combination of both those with direct deposit and those that receive checks. Okay. So now when I go to Next, it opens up a report preview of everyone's checks, and again, one of 9 pages, and allows me to send those checks to print those to plain paper. Okay? Again, not a negotiable copy, not something they can take to the bank to deposit, just an actual reprint of their check stub for record-keeping purposes or for, loan verification or something like that, tax verification, who knows. But that's our topic for today, folks.